Good afternoon. Welcome to the First Nations Home Energy Save webinar. My name is Sarah Fralin, and we'll start this webinar in just a few minutes, giving attendees a moment to join. Thank you so much for being here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the First Nations Home Energy Save webinar on funding. I'm Sarah Fralin, and I'll be your host today. So today we are focusing on funding programs. This will include a presentation and question and answer period with representatives from Clean BC, Better Homes, BC Hydro, and Fortis BC on energy conservation programs and funding for Indigenous communities. I'm Sarah, and I'll be facilitating this call. I'm also joined by my staff member, Elena, who will be providing technical support for anybody that needs help accessing this webinar, and you can chat with her in the chat box or in the question box. If you have any questions or experiencing any technical issues, you have the option to raise your hand and get our attention, type into the chat or question box any of your questions, or you can email Elena at echia@fraserbasin.bc.ca. You may notice in your panel, there's a Handouts tab, and we've got 3 handouts available for download today. One is a flyer for the First Nations Home Energy Save program. One is the flyer for this particular webinar. And the third is a funding opportunities summary that relates to the programs that we'll be talking about today. So you're welcome to download those at any time. So today we are joined by 3 speakers from Clean BC Better Homes. We have Grant Mooney, who's the Senior Energy Efficiency Coordinator, Residential at BC's Ministry of Energy, Mines and Petroleum Resources. From BC Hydro, we have Seth Oldham from the Demand Side Management Lead of Indigenous Relations. And from Fortis BC, we have Carol Suhan, Manager of Conservation and Energy Management. So thank you so much for all 3 of our speakers for being here today and providing your expertise. I want to invite the audience to introduce yourselves. We've got over 30 people who have joined us so far today. So if you could type into the chat box your name and either your organization, community, or location that you'd like to share with the rest of the audience so we can help get to know each other, that would be great. And I just want to take a minute to thank our funders. The First Nation Home Energy Save program is possible and thanks to the generous support from the Real Estate Foundation of BC, the BC Ministry of Energy, Mines and Petroleum Resources, BC Hydro, and Fortis BC. So thank you so much for continuing to support this program. And I've got a couple of polls that I'm going to use to engage with everybody in the audience today. And that's again to help us get to know you and to help you get to know each other. So I'm going to launch the first poll and give everybody a few moments to answer that. So the first question is, at which stage is your home energy efficiency conservation project? And the options are not started, in progress, substantial completion, unknown, or not applicable. And I see we've got about a third of you have filled out your answers already, which is great. Just give you another few moments to select your answer, and then I'll share those results with everyone. Great, just 10 more seconds. Put in your answer if you would like to. Great. I'm just sharing the results from that poll with everyone. So thank you so much for participating. 42% of respondents have the project in progress, which is great. But the other half, this is not applicable or you're not working on this at this time. So that was wonderful. So we'll go into our second poll question here, which is, what type of energy efficiency or conservation projects are you working on? And the options, you can select more than one, include retrofit and renovations, new construction, community energy planning, social housing, other, or not applicable. And I'll just give you a few more seconds to fill that out. Again, you can select more than one option. Great, thank you so much. So I'm going to close the poll and share those results so you can see. This is great. It looks like everybody is really busy working on a variety of different projects all across the board. So I guess the majority, 60% are working on retrofits and renovations, but 50% are working on all of the other projects, which are quite significant numbers. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's great to see everybody so deeply engaged in the energy efficiency work. And finally, our last poll, asking what types of funding or support are you seeking for your energy efficiency or conservation projects? And again, we've got a variety of answers here. You can select all that apply. And this is great feedback that we'll share with our speakers after this webinar. Fantastic. Thank you so much for filling this out. So I will close the poll and share the response. This is great. So very significantly, 83% of you identified incentives, grants, and rebates as the type of support that you're seeking. Another 56 were looking for loans and other sources of financing, and 50% are looking for various capacity building supports. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for participating in these polls. It helps us get to know you and better shape our engagement to meet your needs. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about the First Nations Home Energy Save program, if you're not familiar. Our program is managed by the Fraser Basin Council, and we work with First Nations communities and support organizations to reduce energy use, share community success stories, and build local capacity through our program. Our mission is to support peer learning and share success stories among First Nations communities to reduce home energy use and build local capacity. And our vision is to empower First Nations communities in British Columbia to transition towards energy efficient housing. We have a number of program activities. We provide in-person training around home air sealing for new builds and retrofits, as well as home energy management workshops. And we are currently working to deliver those in a virtual format. We help to connect communities with funding. So we do a few pilot projects with First Nations communities to implement energy efficiency retrofits. And we maintain a bit of a database of third-party funding opportunities. We have a number of online resources on our website, including community case studies. We put out a monthly newsletter. We're active on social media. We engage in webinars like this one, and have our landing page website. So I'll briefly touch on those. The home energy management workshops, which we are working to deliver in a virtual format, are designed to empower band leadership, housing asset managers, and staff. And participants will become community champions, empowered to share energy efficiency knowledge and financial literacy with others in their community. And this is delivered in partnership by SES Consulting and is sponsored by BC Hydro and Fortis BC. Our online resources include our website. So this is a snapshot of what our landing page looks like. You can access that at fnenergy.ca. And this is where we host community success stories, our events and presentations, training opportunities, and a variety of resources such as communication templates, educational handouts, and a link to our webinar recordings, which are up on YouTube, as well as a list of funding opportunities. We have an extensive webinar library that has over 20 videos and growing. You can watch them anytime. This webinar will be uploaded to that library for anyone to watch in the future. And you can either access this library through our website or through the Fraser Basin Council YouTube channel. Our EnergySave newsletter has been going out every month recently to increase engagement. And in this newsletter, we highlight a variety of resources related to energy efficiency, including events, news stories, funding opportunities, and other resources that support community planning and the transition towards energy efficiency. We actively engage on a variety of social media platforms, primarily on the Fraser Basin Council's Facebook page and through the Indigenous Clean Energy Network's Energy Efficiency Forum. And so that's a great way to interact with us, access news stories and updates, and connect with peers. So that was the First Nations Home Energy Save program. And next we're going to transition into the speaker part of our presentation. So we'll hear from our 3 speakers today from the province, from BC Hydro, and from Fortis BC. And they'll be offering a quick summary of the energy conservation programs and support for existing homes, new homes, and home energy management for First Nations communities in British Columbia. And just a note that these programs can be stacked with other federal and provincial government program offers. So our first speaker today is Grant Mooney. So I'm just going to unmute Grant. Welcome, Grant. And I will pass over the microphone to you to talk us through the new Clean BC Better Homes program offer.
Great, thank you, Sarah, and thank you to everybody at the Fraser Basin Council and all of our attendees for having me here today. As mentioned, my name is Grant. I'm the program coordinator with the Clean BC Better Homes program. I'd also like to identify my colleague who's on the line today, Kasia McClintock from the Community Clean Energy branch. She will likely be helping me answer questions at the end of the seminar, so thank you. The Clean BC Better Homes program offers rebates for making energy efficient upgrades to homes. The goal of the program is to reduce energy use and greenhouse gas emissions from homes through the installation of high efficiency heating equipment and building envelope improvements. Our Better Home BC website is the hub of information, rebates, and support for new and existing homes. You'll see the website landing page here, but you also see the link for the betterhomesbc.ca webpage there. It offers self-serve tools, including an easily searchable rebate database, as well as resources to learn about energy efficiency upgrades, available services, and contractors. Shown is an image of the homepage for the Better Homes BC website. You will first be required to identify if you're renovating or building a new home, as this separates the new construction offers from the renovation rebates for existing homes. Today, I'm going to be focused on the renovation offers. Once you identify you're doing a renovation project, it will ask you to identify where you're located and how you currently heat your home. And this allows the website to really identify and present you with the rebates that match your needs. The general requirements of the program are that you must be a Fortis BC or BC Hydro residential customer. Remote communities who are not BC Hydro or Fortis BC customers are eligible for Indigenous community program offers. And for those details and questions, I do recommend you contact our Indigenous community energy coach for assistance, who I'll identify later. As well, the homes must be primarily heated with natural gas, oil, or propane, as our offers are focused on fuel switching to clean electricity. The program has a variety of financial rebates available, such as primary space heating offers, such as fuel switch air source heat pumps. There's a rebate of up to $3,000 available. Fuel switching for air to water heat pumps, there's a rebate for up to $3,000 available. And there is also a financing program for heat pump installations available that is on the website. As well, there are electric heat pump water heater rebates of up to $1,000. There's an electric service upgrade rebate, allowing you to increase your panel from maybe 100 or 60 amp panel up to a 100 or 200 amp panel as required. That rebate is for $500. There are insulation rebates up to $5,500 per home, and there are window and door incentives up to $2,000 per home. As well, lastly, there are EnerGuide home evaluation rebates, which allow an EnerGuide assessor to come in and analyze the homes to identify the best opportunities to save greenhouse gas emissions. I see I'm going through my time pretty quick here, so I'm going to jump ahead and get to the heat pump incentive for Indigenous communities, as this is a key part of our offer. This offers for 80% of the cost of new heat pumps, up to a max of $10,000 per residential heat pump, or $200,000 for community buildings with an overall cap of $200,000 per community. They can be used to top up other grants or incentives, and can cover up to 100% of the eligible heat pump system costs for installations. The expenses can include capital costs, installation costs, as well as some associated expenses, including electrical panel upgrades, oil tank removals, feasibility studies, etc. The key point I want to get across here is that there is an Indigenous community energy coach available to help support you and your community to access this funding, identify what you're eligible for, and the email address for that is presented. It's the icec@betterhomesbc.ca. The gentleman who is our community energy coach is Devin Miller, and he'll be happy to respond and help you access this funding for support through the program. I believe I'm at the end of my 5 minutes, so I'm gonna finish up here and just take the time to thank you all once again for having me, and also identify that if there are general questions about the program as well, there is a Better Homes BC energy coaches that are available at ask@betterhomesbc.ca. Once again, though, if you're asking specific questions about the Indigenous offers, we do recommend you go to the Indigenous Communities Energy Coach. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Grant. That was a great overview of the Clean BC Better Homes rebate search tool and some of the incentives, including the Indigenous Community Heat Pump Incentive. So I just want to open up the floor to see if there are any clarifying questions from the audience. So if you are in the audience and you have a question, please type your question either into the chat box or the question box, and I'll read that out loud for Grant to answer. Let's just see if we've got any questions coming up right now. Doesn't look like it quite yet. That's okay. We'll provide another opportunity for questions after our other speakers present. And I encourage everyone in the audience to check out this rebate search tool. So next, I'd like to invite Carol from Fortis BC to talk about the Energy Conservation Assistance Program. So I'm just going to unmute Carol. Oh, Carol, looks like you're self-muted. There you go. Welcome, Carol.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thanks for hosting this information session, because it helps with hopefully the communities and just to get the message out that we, have programs here. And I say we, it is this particular program. Actually, most of our programs are Fortis BC and BC Hydro work together. We work collaboratively. So the idea is you only have to apply to one application. You don't have to, it doesn't matter whether you have natural gas heating or electric heating or whatever, you can just apply to this program. I think a lot of folks on this line would probably have heard about the Energy Conservation Assistance Program, or ECAP, because so many communities now have participated. But I just want to mention that even though you may have participated a couple of years ago, I think almost every community across BC, there's still lots of homes that have not participated in, and we would really welcome you to come. I would say at that time also that our application process has become a lot simpler and easier to use. So I think that would be helpful in terms of getting folks signed up. And as usual, of course, this program does provide a free energy assessment. free energy efficiency upgrades, like light bulbs, energy efficient shower heads, that sort of thing. And of course, some homes will, based on the age and condition of their homes, can get free new refrigerators, insulation throughout the home, and if it is a natural gas heated home, high efficiency gas furnace. I just mentioned, obviously, during the time of COVID right now, we're not going into people's homes, but we certainly are still taking application forms. And if you're looking at maybe, as our economy that loosens up, we are working to be able to go back into homes if people feel comfortable for us to come in our homes with all of this, proper safety precautions. But if you want for us to come back to your community, you can start working on application forms right now, and then when we get back to work, your community could be at the top of the list. So with that, I'll pass it over to Seth, because he's going to talk about our other joint program as well.
Thank you so much, Carol. So we'll just move on to the Indigenous Communities Conservation Program, and I'm going to unmute Seth. Welcome, Seth. Go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah, and hello, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to come here and share some information about our Indigenous Communities Conservation Program. So this was launched in 2019, just last year, and really the intention here is to provide another, in addition to the Energy Conservation Assistance Program that Carol just spoke to. This is another, I guess, another program offer that's there to support communities wanting to kind of move forward with energy conservation in the communities. So it's kind of comprised of two streams, basically. They're sort of sub-programs, you could think about it. And stream one involves access to free energy savings products, in addition to salary support for local community installers or for employees of the housing and maintenance department, or there's flexibility in how those salary dollars could be used, as well as training to support local community installers from your community. Go through the process, learn how we kind of evaluate homes for energy savings opportunities, and then how to install some of the products all of the products that are available through the program. So that is stream one. I like to think of stream one as a sort of do-it-yourself version of ECAP, in that ECAP is delivered by a contractor. It's a full service program that's available to your community members. And stream one is again that do it yourself, and for some communities it's a better fit to have that delivered in your community by your own people. So that's stream one. And then stream two is a rebate program. So it provides, similar to our home renovation rebate program, it provides access to rebates for various types of home energy renovations, related to the building envelope, related to, and so that would be like insulation and windows and doors. And then there's ventilation rebates, as well as rebates for equipment and appliances, such as refrigerators and freezers. And then around primary space heating, such as air source heat pumps, as well as water heating. There is also additional rebates available under health and safety to enable some of the renovations that may have, there may be issues related to either asbestos remediation or mold remediation that might be needed before the renovations can take place. So that's there as well to support that. And then there's training also offered as part of this program to support contractors or community folks, like in the building and maintenance department or your building professionals, around air sealing, best practices in air sealing and insulation, and that's available too as part of the program. And so there's the two, I guess the BC Hydro and Fortis are both supporting this program. Stream two, I think, where was I think stream two, it's really the deciding factor is the type of heating source for the home. So if it's a natural gas heated home, the rebates would be directed through Fortis BC. And if the home is heated by electricity, then the rebates would come through BC Hydro. We are working to try to streamline how we process the applications. Right now, there is a separate application process for each utility to those rebates. And then for Stream 1, we're coordinating behind the scenes to support work in homes. If there are, like, if one community has homes heated by gas or by electricity, we can coordinate behind the scenes to support that work, depending. And that's about all I have to cover for the ICCP.
Thank you so much, Seth. So I do see a few questions have come in. Thank you so much to our audience for that. I'm just going to go through one last slide, and then we'll get into all of those questions.
Sounds good.
So now we'll come back to Carol, who's going to talk about the new home program incentives. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, sure. Actually, if you're building new homes that will have natural gas heating and water heating, we do have support up to $8,500 per home, and that can be for duplexes, fourplexes, row housing, single family. We also have additional rebates and incentives to help with water heating and other additional appliances, etc., additional rebates as well. And of course, support for Energy Advisor, which you would need to work because this new home program is based on the step code and reading the different rate steps, whether it's step code 1 through 5. And I would just suggest you give us a call, give me a call, and we can work together on this one and hopefully build better homes that have, are more comfortable and of course have reduced energy bills down the road. And I guess I'll just make one last mention here too, and this would be for BC Hydro as well as Fortis BC. Again, if you have any community buildings, whether it's an administration building, a school, any kinds of upgrades that you might be doing for energy efficiency, whether it's lighting or a heating system, we do have some pretty significant support that we would love to be able to pass on to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Carol. So again, if you have questions, you can either raise your hands or type into the chat or question box. And I believe one of our first questions is for Grant Mooney and is about heat pumps. And the question is, if heat pumps don't replenish air, but a heat recovery ventilator would, should those be encouraged? Grant, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't expect such a technical question. HRVs are definitely wonderful opportunities, and yes, we do support them. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't have any rebates available. It is being looked into, and I don't really want to get into the weeds about it, but yeah, we do definitely understand them and appreciate them and feel that they should and could be used. But every house is different. They don't all require them. And in this instance, I would contact the energy coaches, as they will be able to support you if there are any HRV offers that do come available.
Great, thank you, Grant. So our next question is for Carol. The question is, what are the ECAP COVID safety measures that will be taken once the in-home visits start up again?
Hi, Sarah. I just got a message from Carol saying that she is not hearing anything. I'm not sure, Carol, are you able to hear now?
Well,
she might still be having audio issues. Yeah, I
can minute to reach out on that. Great. So our next question will be for Seth. And the question is, what does the ICCP training look like and who can be a part of this training?
That's a very good question. So there's two separate trainings offered, one for Stream 1, one for Stream 2. Stream 1 is It really depends on the folks that are being trained in the community. It can be a 1-day training, or I think 2 days maximum. And so we have one of my colleagues with BC Hydro who works in our commercial department, has also done a lot of work in Indigenous communities. He comes to the community and sort of, walks through. Basically, we've got a few some, I guess, resources that go along with the program. There's a home energy evaluation report that can be completed for each home by the installers. Goes through that, which is really a way to do a walkthrough of the home and look for opportunities for energy savings. And then there's the products that are provided with the program that he then, some of the things like screwing in a light bulb, nobody needs to be trained on how to do that. But some of the more, there are some, like some of the weather stripping and draft proofing measures, they may not be familiar to folks. So it's really, it depends on, I think, the skill and ability level of the group. And there's a few different homes. So this is, again, it's I'm speaking of a pre-COVID training. We've really, things have been on pause since COVID came in. So we're looking at ways that we can support communities in training in sort of a remote delivery way. But that also involves, I think, communities opening up and households being open to the installers coming in. So there's a few, I guess, uncertainties around that. But I'm speaking in a pre-COVID way. And there's a few homes that, usually it's some of the either the installer's homes or the housing manager's home that would be sort of the training houses that we would, go with folks and train them. So that's stream 1. Hopefully that's answered your question there. And stream 2 is it's a 1-day sort of workshop. It's very practical and hands-on. It's about half of the day is spent. And this is done through a contractor that we have procured for delivering the training. It's Small Planet Supply is the contractor, and they come to the community. So it's in person. Again, this is pre-COVID, and so there are online options that we're working on for this. But the training is really comprised of a half-day sort of like demonstration and looking at the home in terms of like the air sealing, airflow, some of the health and safety considerations related to that. And then the afternoon is spent really with the hands-on practical demonstration. There's some mock-ups of different features of a home, like framed-in features that would be demonstrated how to properly air seal these, both from an external and internal point of view. So from the inside or from the outside, depending on the renovations that you're doing to the envelope. That's essentially it. I think for stream 2, it's typically the training is geared towards building professionals, in the sense it's for the people that would be doing the renovations in your community's homes. So whether that's contractors or whether that's building professionals like on your sort of administration, your band staff. And then stream 1 is available to again, to whoever would be the team of installers that are installing the energy saving products and evaluating the opportunities in the home. So hopefully that's captured it. Let me know if you need any more information, and I can follow up.
Thank you so much, Seth. So it looks like Carol's rejoined us. So this next question is for Carol. And the question is, what are the ECAP COVID safety measures that will be taken once the in-house visits start up again?
I don't have the exact details yet, because we're just having that approved by WorkSafe BC and both BC Hydro and Fortis BC. But it certainly, would be everything, all of the PPE and approvals from the community, etc. And I say PPE, I know right now we are starting to do some in-home emergency visits, that include, it could include even a respirator, but certainly masks and appropriate clothing and gloves, etc.
Great, thank you, Carol. So we've got a question from one of our audience members, Sharon McKay. You've got your hand up. I'm going to unmute you, Sharon, and I'll just ask that you briefly introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Hi, my name is Sharon McKay, and I'm from Simp First Nations. And my question, because I'm building 6 homes right now, but we are under BC Hydro, is the new home in Fortis BC, is there funding available for, or rebates available for BC Hydro for new builds?
Thank you so much, Sharon. Seth or Carol, do you want to comment?
I can comment. Thank you for the question. It's a good question. BC Hydro doesn't have rebates available for new home construction. Our rebates are focused on sort of improving the energy efficiency of existing housing stock, and they're really kind of centered on the kind of conservation gain between the home, before and after. So we are working with the construction industry to support sort of around codes and standards and the BC Energy Step Code and some other measures like that, sort of more at the building associations and capacity building in that way, but we don't have direct incentives for new home construction in the same way that Fortis does.
Great, thank you so much, Seth. Did any other panelists have anything to add? Great. So our next question is for Carol. And the question is, what are the expected energy savings from going through the ECAP program?
Boy, if a home, if we just do the energy evaluation and add and do the household additions like the lighting, and I think we're looking at around, I mean, it depends upon the home, but it's, gosh, what was the dollar value now? Maybe it's, do you have it off the top? It's off the top what it is. I mean, it's probably in the sort of $4 to $5, maybe $10 a month, and savings. It isn't significant. That said, if we are going into a home and where we replace all of the insulation, the furnace, etc., it could be as high as 50% reduction. So it can be pretty significant depending on the condition that the home was in and how much work we're able to do in it. So, but everybody gets to save something.
Thank you, Carol. That's great. So just a reminder to our audience, if you have questions, you can either raise your hand or type it in the question tab or the chat box, and we'll read those out. I'm not seeing any additional questions at this time. So given that we've got a little bit of time left in this webinar, I just wanted to give an opportunity to each of our panelists if they had any closing remarks that they wanted to say and share with our audience members before we sign off on the webinar. So I'm going to give an opportunity to Grant from the province to go first. Grant, do you have any final remarks that you'd like to share?
I just want to thank everybody for coming today, and once again reiterate that email icec@betterhomesbc.ca, which is our Indigenous communities energy coach, who will be able to support any communities looking to make those upgrades to their existing homes. And thanks once again.
Thank you for joining us today, Grant. And next we'll go to Carol. Carol, do you have any final remarks you'd like to share with our audience?
Sure. I didn't mention this before, but again, going back to ECAP and getting the application form signed, yes, they're quite a bit easier to do. There's less work than we had to do in the past, but we do provide some funding support that you might want to be able to hire somebody for a short, a short period of time to help you get application forms signed off. So we do need to get the residents' signature that it's okay to come into their homes and to make these upgrades. So we do have financial support for that. Also, that we would happily, well, this is post-COVID, but even if it's during COVID, we could, if you wanted to have any information sessions open to your community to talk about energy, conservation, whatever, we could definitely hook, do some Zoom meetings if that would be helpful, just to talk about, what the kinds of things, no cost, low cost things that you can do in your home. And the other part I'll just mention in terms of the ICCP program, which, like BC Hydro, we've really tried to make the application forms much simpler than in the past. So you can do you could be doing renovations for 10 homes in your community. You only have to fill out one application form. You don't have to fill out 10. And again, I'd say even if you're doing a renovation on something else on that home, but if you are going to be wanting to upgrade that heating system, just remember for example, for furnaces, it's up to $3,000 per furnace. You just simply fill out the form. We send you a check and we'll try and make it really easy. And the last thing, I'm making it long here now, but the last thing, if you need help filling out the application forms, we'll do that too. We just need to really get to see the invoice, and we can figure out so much of the other stuff for you, because we just want to make this as easy and simple as possible. Thanks.
That's a great resource. Thank you so much, Carol. And finally, we'll go to Seth. Seth, do you have any final comments that you'd like to share with our audience?
I have no prepared remarks. I think just really, I think just to reiterate what Carol mentioned, like really we're here. I'm in these programs were launched, or the ICCP at least was launched last year, and sort of my position was created to support program implementation and the other work that we're doing with Indigenous communities. So really, we're here to try to make it as easy as possible to do business with BC Hydro and for Carol with Fortis. It can be tricky. I think people have probably had experiences in the past where it's, we kind of were big organizations, sort of clunky. Our processes can be clunky, but we're open to feedback and doing the best we can to kind of make it easier and to do business with us. I think the only other couple points is just that the program was launched last year. There's definitely been a lot of interest from communities, and I know that I've been happily following up with a lot. I think maybe a few people on the line right now, and I think that what we're really one thing I'd want to stress is that we're here to move at the pace of the community in how you're doing your work and how you're doing this work. There's no sort of intake deadline. There's no deadlines that we have. I know a lot of people have approached and just looking for information on the program, and I've kind of given that and kind of how it works. And then that just, they're in the information gathering stage, and then they'll kind of circle back later on. Some communities are ready to go right now and are in midstream and looking for sort of supports and things that can help them immediately. And we can do that too. So it really varies on and depends on your pace of work, your project management. That's about it.
Thank you so much, Seth. So that comes to the end of our webinar today. So this presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to the FBC webinar library, and you'll be able to access that through our website and through our YouTube channel. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, if you need us to send you the link to this recording, or need support in accessing any of these funding opportunities, please feel free to reach out to myself, Sarah, our program lead, Elena, or our director, Jim, and you can see our contact information listed here. And that's all we've got for now. Thank you everyone for joining from our audience, and thank you to our speakers. It's been an honor having you here, and it's been really great learning about the different programs. So thank you again to Grant, Seth, and Carol for sharing that information with us. I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.